even though I'm holding on to your every word and truly understanding what you're saying, I want to be able to share this with my grandgirls, 10-year-old, 14-year-old, who lives with a mom that has been diagnosed as bipolar and who almost every day are verbally attacked. I don't know about physically, but they live in another state and I live here in California. So I want to, and when they call in tears and telling their story, I want to be able to share with them what it means and how to go into the vortex so that they can realize more fully how much they are loved, even though the words that are coming from the mouths of their mom, from the mouth of their mom, does not feel like love.
Well, we're going to give you some words that if we were standing in your physical shoes, that you could give to them. And we are certain that as you receive these words and feel them, and you will, and express them in a repetitive way over time, that you will know that they are coming into alignment with what you know. But before we do that, we want to speak expressly to you, because while they are not here for us to soothe into the vortex, you are.
Yes.
And we want you to understand that you can't soothe them in unless you're really in.
Yes.
In other words, you can't worry about their abuse, and you can't feel the injustice of it, and you can't have an aching heart and say anything that will help them get to a better place. So your work is to practice your vision of their well-being, and that's what we're going to help you with here first.
Excellent.
So first we want to say that everybody's bipolar.
Even me?
In the sense that, especially once you spend some time in the vortex, you just can't stand it when you're not in the vortex. In other words, the better it gets, the more you live life, and the more you launch these rockets, and the more you come into vibrational resonance with who you are, the more you become a vibrational match to the source within you, the more when you're out of the vortex, you really, really know it.
Yes.
In other words, when you really, 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 really want something, it feels really, 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 really awful when you're not a vibrational match to it, you see.
Yes.
And as we said earlier, every subject is really two subjects, what is wanted and not, and the absence of what is wanted. So everybody has those moments where when you're out of the vortex, you feel it strongly. And we don't think that that is a bad thing. We think it is a good thing to be aware of how you feel. Now, we're not saying that a mother should get out of the vortex and not know what she's doing and become verbally abusive, but we're also saying that she can't hardly do anything else, because when she's out of the vortex, she's not in vibrational sync with who she really is. She's not a vibrational match to what she really wants, and the agony that she is displaying through her mistreatment of these children that she loves so much is only evidence of how much she really does want to be in the vortex. In other words, if somebody called you on the telephone and said, "Hello, you don't know me. I'm just calling to tell you I will never call you again," you would say, "Thanks for letting me know." But you wouldn't feel anything about it.
Right.
Where if someone you really cared about were to tell you that they were never going to speak to you again, you would feel more because you care more. In other words, the more you want it, the more the absence of it is unsettling to you. So we want to soothe you by saying, first of all, that your daughter is feeling both ends of that. In other words, to be bipolar means you have to sometimes be in the vortex. Really. In other words, to have those high highs and those low lows, sometimes with the high highs mean you were in the vortex while you were having the high highs. You see what we're getting at? Mm-hmm. And so we want to soothe you by saying to you that your daughter is not as far out of whack as
what the mother of my grandchildren.
The mother of your grandchildren is not as far out of whack as you want to believe that she is. In other words, it's not as terrible as it seems. Just keep saying that to yourself. It's not as off as it seems. It's not as off as it seems. Now we want to tell you about the children. At an early age, they have the benefit of knowing what they don't want, which means at an early age, they're launching all kinds of rockets of desire. So the energy for them is moving faster than it would for someone who is having less contrast at an early time in their life, which means their quest for feeling good is stronger. It is easier for us to teach someone about the vortex who is in pain than it is for us to teach someone about the vortex who is not in pain, because their desire for relief is so much stronger, you see. So, did you follow that?
Yes.
So this is all much more good news than it is bad news. What did we just say to you? We said these kids were born into a contrasting experience, and we promise you no one comes and says, uh-oh, I made a big mistake. Every single one that comes forward is knowing what they're coming into. Not one of you said, I want to come forth into a feathered nest. What you all said is, I want to come forth into an environment that will inspire real expansion in me. I want to come forth into an environment that will inspire real requests of desire from me. And so that's what these kids are doing. They are exploring contrast, and they are requesting, and their vortex is brighter and moving faster than almost anybody that you know. Really. Wow. It is. So now that might seem like, well, it's not doing them much good because the vortex is here, and if they don't know about it and they don't know how to get into it. But they do know about it in the sense that they do know that they want to feel good. So talk to us just for a little bit about the relationship. So these children, what are they telling you about this woman?
That she's always yelling at me. She's not satisfied with that when I come home that I don't speak to her, or she thinks that I don't speak to her. Yelling all the time. I'm not getting a chance to do my homework. I'm not. You want me to go on?
Well, so it's a bit like what we were talking about earlier, that the adult or the big one is making the children understand that it is their job to please her.
Yes.
And under normal conditions, if this were a sort of normal person, less chaotic, they might be able to stand on their head in enough different ways to please her. In other words, if she were rational or sane, they might be able to stand on their head in enough different ways to please her. And yet we're not encouraging that anybody try to do that, because by letting someone convince you that it's your job to please them, what happens is they draw you away from your own guidance system. So these are the words that we would say to them if we were visiting with them.
Okay.
When someone is big and powerful in your experience and seem to hold the controls to some of your well-being, in other words, they can withhold stuff from you or give you reward or benefit, it seems like the most prudent thing to do would be to do what they want. But when someone doesn't really know what they want, it can become so confusing, because there's no way that you can figure out how to always be offering the correct response. And that's what you're expressing to me now, you can say to them. You're trying to follow guidance that isn't coming in any sort of clarity. And then say to them, I so understand what you're experiencing. And I think a lot of us have tried to please the adults in our life for a very long time. And some of us had to get pretty old. You're speaking of yourself to them.
Yes.
Some of us had to get pretty old before we figured out that our job is not to please someone, even if they're big and strong and loud. Our job is to find the best feeling thought that we can find in the moment. Say to them, I want you to, just for a little while, just pretend with me for a little while that what's really bothering you about this situation is how angry you feel toward that. In other words, I want you to sort of take control of the way you feel and show yourself that even with her carrying on like that you don't have to feel bad. But in order to do that, we all have to stop proclaiming her as wrong or pushing against her. In other words, we have to find a way of And even tell them the story. If you saw someone in the street bleeding, I know you would want to help them. But when you see someone misbehaving like this, who's hurting every bit as much as someone in the street, because I promise you, honey, is what you want to say to them, anybody that's bringing pain to someone else like she is bringing to you is in pain herself, you see. In pain herself.
Yes.
So what I wish for you, you want to say to them, is that you're able to maintain your balance no matter what's going on around you. And you know what? I think you can do it. I think you can find a way of feeling all right, even in this chaotic situation, if we all try just a little bit. And then say to them, and here's what I have found to be the magic key that works for me. If you wait until she's mad or upset to try to do anything about it, it's already so out of balance that it's hard to do anything about. And she's just going to be upset, and then you're just going to be upset, and off it's going to go until everybody goes to sleep. But if you can get a head start on it, if you can begin making some lists of some positive aspects of her when you're not with her, when she's not misbehaving, if you can activate, are they old enough to understand that word?
Yes.
If you can activate within yourself the parts of her that you would like to see more of. At the same time, you will deactivate the parts of her that you want to see less of. And I promise you, she'll start showing you more of the things that you want to see. You're going to find out how powerful you are. And I believe, say to them, that that's the whole reason that you're all in that situation together. I think this is the way for you at an early age to discover the power of your being, because none of us have the ability to control anybody else. In the moment that we think that we have to control this other person before we can feel good, we're in deep doo-doo. But when we discover that we not only can't control them, but that we don't have to control them, all we have to do is get some measure of control over the way we feel, and then things begin working out for us. And then say to them, things are always working out for you. I know that they are always working out for you. How often do you get a chance to visit with them?
Well, twice a year.
How often do you speak to them on the telephone?
Maybe once a month.
So here's something that will get their attention. Do you call them or do they call you?
Both.
Can they call you anytime they want to?
Yes.
Tell them that you would like to play a game with them just for a little while. And that you've come to believe that this game is powerful and will help their life get much better really fast. Tell them that you want to hear from them often, but for a little while, only call when they have some good news about that relationship.
Great, I like that.
And no matter how small it is, no matter how small the good news is, call and let's revel in it together.
Good.
Because I believe, say to them, I believe that if we can get that going between the three of us, that we can get a sort of synergy going, that a powerful benefit will come into effect, and you will begin to see magic performed right before your eyes. As we said earlier, this was a lot for us to talk about with you all at once, and you received it very well. In fact, a lot of people are receiving benefit from the conversation that we are having here. So we want to just break it down into some really simple things to remember. First, you can't help them if you're worried about them.
Right.
So the same game that we encouraged you to play with them, we want to play with yourself. In other words, we want you to make lists of things that are going well, that you know are going well for these kids. We want you to speak of their strengths. We want you to talk to yourself about how they came into this physical experience knowing what they were getting into, that they're resilient, that you wouldn't try to protect them from anything even if you could, because the contrast that they are involved in is necessary for the building of their vortex, and you wouldn't deprive them of that for anything in the world. Right. And that the fact that they are building a vortex, and that you are all becoming aware of the existence of that, and that you know about emotions, and that you will be able to guide them. In other words, just revel in all of this understanding. And then when they call, stick to your guns. And if they're calling and complaining, say, gotta go. And they'll say, you mean you're not going to listen to me? And you say, oh, I'm going to listen to you. But these are the things I've been practicing about you. I see how brilliant you are. I see how wise you are. I feel how good you are. I feel how good your life is. I've been practicing this vision of what we all want for you.